By the way, when we talk about changing the landscape for women, we can't forget we have some pretty great men around here, too, who are trying to help us change the landscape. So, guys, we can't forget you as well. But we talk about you all as being such strong women, and I'm curious whether one of your parents or was there somebody that any of you point to in your lives who inspired you? I mean, did you know that you were going to grow up to be this strong woman? Was that something that was drilled into you or just in your DNA?
I don't think any strong woman sees herself as strong until she comes out of a dark period of her life and she knows she survived it. And I think that's when you look back and go, you know?
That which doesn't kill you.
Yeah. And then you realize, you know, I'm just fine. I'm really pretty good. But you don't grow up to do that. You know, I always say people define you by your successes, but you really end up defining yourself by your failures. And I'm sure a common bond the three of us have if we had, you know, a glass of scotch at 5 o'clock this afternoon, as we figure out all the screw-ups in our lives that have sort of bound us. But, you know, I always wanted to be a doctor from 3rd grade on. So for me, I didn't have plan B. So to not be a surgeon was just not an option. And then television came along and I ended up truly having parallel careers where, to me, being a correspondent made me a better physician, and being a physician, I think, made me a better correspondent. I mean, the skill set is the same. If I'm sitting on a patient's bedside or if I'm talking on camera, the point is to take complicated stuff and make it palatable without being condescending. But the strength comes through self-discovery. I really think it comes through the tough times, and I think most women won't realize they're strong until somewhere mid-30s or beyond.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm thinking my grandmother, my parent, I was the first in my family to go to college, so I didn't have those kind of role models or career women, but my grandmother said to me, honey, falling on your face is at least a forward movement. And she was so right. And because I actually, as you were talking, Nancy, I was thinking the first time I ever thought I was strong in the way I would define it was after not sort of stepping outside the magic circle of BS degree, MRS, MOM, and then divorce. And
survived. That's a scarlet letter. I don't care what anybody says.
Especially it was in the days that I
club too.
Yeah, in the deep South, you didn't. I mean, my mother said, "Are you going to pay your own bills?" Well, Mom, I've been doing that since I got married, but that's all right. By the way, that was the first husband. The second fabulous one is over here. Who is the most enlightened woman, man, feminine values I know. But I do think it's the hard times. And when young women ask me, you know, how do you account for your success or whatever, I always say that the biggest accomplishments always came from the darkest, deepest failures, where I really thought there won't be another job, there won't be another project, there won't be another opportunity.
And there's something about reimagining yourself and reinventing yourself. And I think men and women do it, but I think women do it perhaps on a different level because somewhere, at least in medicine, you know, we're trained to divorce the spirit from the physical, which was one of the dumber things ever taught to medical students. And when you put those two together again and you discover that spiritual self, you get to reinvent yourself. And I think, you know, what happens to little kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, it's just one thing. I don't think you have to just be one thing. I think you get to be as many things as you want to be.
But not at the same time.
No, I would quibble with that, because I'm about 80 things at the same time. So it's a little bit ADD issue with me, but and I would just say I'm in a subset of people who I don't consider myself that strong, and generally people ask me that, why am I so strong? And I'm just faking it every day. And when you say reinvent myself, I reinvent myself every morning when I get out of bed. And that's been an important thing for me, too, because I was under the impression that strength was the absence of fear. And now I get it, that I'm never going to not be afraid. That's just there, you know. So I just kind of welcomed it in, along with all the other big, ugly furniture in my subconscious, and I'm working around it. And I'm trying to teach my girls, and I think it's a good policy to just, whatever is really scaring you, go toward it, because it's probably right where you need to be.
Yeah, but can I just add one thing, because Abby and I are going to talk about how she is a strong woman later, and the concept of women and strength and women in power. We have real issues with it, and the problem is that we define power in the way in which we see it defined so dominantly in our world today, which is force and power, force, dominance, and generally without responsibility. And what this lunch is about today is being responsible with our power and the opportunities that we have to use it for really good purposes. And that's what you do with your films. I mean, you magnify the voices of women who feel powerless because of the situation they're in. That's what you do for your patients, and that's what you do every day, and you too, Al. I mean, we all have we have an opportunity, but if we step back from it and think, well, I don't have power, or I'm afraid, or I'll fail, or I won't succeed at that, I think that's probably why we still need this organization and others to keep moving it forward toward the world we really do want to see, but can't see if we don't all empower ourselves.
As we have a couple of girls, and you raised something interesting, Abby, and I'm curious, how do we change this image? When you watch television or videos or read the magazines, I missed the memo that it was okay for my young girl to dress like a slut or something like that. I mean, why is this acceptable, and how do we change this?
Yeah, that's boy, is that a question I ask myself every morning when I watch my daughters walk out the door at school. I don't know if I know the answer, except that I feel like we need to be more aggressively raising critical consumers of media, because all of us here are going to be pushing as hard as we can on media and creating positive imagery, but we can't deny that the force moving in the other direction is so enormous. I mean, I was in Cairo, and I had a veiled woman. We were talking about the veil specifically, and she said, I don't understand why you American women think you have it so good. I actually don't think you ever put something on that you really want to wear. And I don't have any friends who have bulimia or anorexia. When I walk down the street, people don't ogle at me. And that really made me think. And right after she said that, I went back to my hotel room. And in the Hilton Hotel in Cairo, I turned on the television, and there's a music video with a man sliding his credit card down the backside of a woman. And I thought, well, there you go. I don't have it so good as an American woman. So if we're not raising really critical consumers, both men and women, in our children, and talking to them about, who made that video, why did they make those choices, who decided to put that on the air, who's making money here, and what are we pushing forward, I don't think we'll ever get anywhere. So I think that my girls are going out the door dressed slightly inappropriately, but with their own voice, and I don't think anybody's going to sell them any swampland in Florida.
A couple of years ago, there was I think it was about 2 years ago, there was a national study, and they asked young girls, 8 to 10, what do you want to be when you grow up? Over 60% said famous. So that is an issue. And I think part of the issue that really goes to what Abby was talking about was this puritanical idea we have in society where we won't talk about sex or sexual education in preschool and first grade, but we have no problem showing anything on television. And the hypocrisy is that our young girls have phenomenal mixed messages. So when they walk out of the door and we're holding our breaths, there's a reason why.
I keep thinking
we need to stop.
We need to stop calling it content, because that's precisely what it doesn't have.